So the record.
Holly, if you want to introduce it.
Oh, okay. Welcome, Angela Jiao, and thank you so much for this giving us this opportunity to interview you. So I'd like to introduce Angela first before you both of you start the interview. I get to know Angela through Silicon Valley for Youth, which is our partner organization in Silicon Valley area. And Silicon Valley for Youth, they give us opportunities to join, to be their partner for their Zoom summer camp over last 2 summers. So in the first summer, last summer, we sent out 2 teachers. And this summer we sent 6 teachers. And Angela Jiao also teach in that summer camp, which is nationwide. And Angela, she also shared her project, the Science in a Bag, to us. And this summer we host our very first on-site STEAM camp, and all the teachers watched the video she shared, and we somehow has an idea how to teach this Science in a Bag project within our first STEAM camp. So many thanks to Angela for sharing that, and congratulations again for getting into the top university in United States and in the world. Okay, thank you again, and I'll pass back to you.
So Heather, would you like to give Angela our first question?
Yeah, so to start, what was your general high school experience like?
Okay, so I went to school in San Jose, California, at a school called Limbrook. It is a public school, but we're pretty well known for being pretty competitive. So that's kind of the environment I grew up in. Some people like kind of call it kind of too toxic or cutthroat, but from my personal experience, at least with like the people I've interacted with, it's been like pretty supportive. Like everyone's really into doing the best that they can, but I don't think people, at least most people, try to like push each other down. So in that sense, I feel like my environment has like really kind of helped foster my interest in different subjects. Also, I think my teachers have all been pretty good, pretty supportive. I found it pretty easy to talk to them. And yeah, so overall good experience. Also, we have lots of opportunities for like social things and clubs to join. So for example, I participated in my school's like homecoming dance all 4 years. Or not actually because COVID, but that was a consistent thing. And it was really a nice way to get to know my classmates and kind of like work together on a thing. And also, yeah, so all the clubs are like really welcoming. So I found my place in Science Olympiad Club, and I just stuck with that throughout high school. And yeah, I think that was like a pretty big part of me and my application.
That's great to hear. It sounds like a great community. Now, what exactly AP classes do you take, and what would you suggest current high schoolers to take when they want to stand out on their college application?
Okay, so I'm not one of those people who takes like all the APs they possibly can. So I still like did a decent amount. The main thing was I tried to just take more advanced classes in school versus trying to self-study like a million of them. Like if I was genuinely interested in a subject, I would like self-study it and take the test. Like for example, I did that for psychology and also Chinese because I am Chinese. So for things like that, where it wasn't like super crazy hard to self-study, I did that. But for other things, like for example, I'm not super interested in econ, so I didn't take the 2 APs, even though a lot of people just did it for the sake of doing it and having an extra like AP or 2 like in their profile. So I don't think it's like crazy important to like stack up a bunch. Just do what you're interested in. And I think the main thing is like see like what your school offers and be competitive in that regard. So like some schools, if they don't offer that many APs, like you don't stress about it. But if you do have a lot of options, then take that into account and try to challenge yourself. But also like one thing is also for classes in school, like remember to like consider your situation and like your interests. So for example, in junior year, I think a lot of people take APUSH, US history, as well as AP Lang. Personally, I decided to only take AP Lang because I thought that was my strong suit. I didn't want to spend like excess amounts of time studying history, which I don't like really love. So as always, like even though like you should always try your best to like meet the challenging-ish standards of your school, if something's not right for you, don't force yourself to do it.
So, aside from your courses, what extracurriculars did you do during high school? And did you feel that any particular one made you stand out, or which one did you enjoy the most?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I did Science Olympiad for all 4 years. So I actually did that starting in middle school, and that was just a thing that I like kept going. I think that was really good for like fostering collaboration because for that you study in pairs and you compete in pairs, and then you have an overall team result. So you're always working with other people. And also that was good for like developing leadership skills because eventually I did end up becoming the president of the club, and there was a lot of logistical things to manage and like delegating tasks and all that. So I thought it was a really good experience just to have and like slowly develop over the years. Okay, and then also for community service, I think you guys are probably familiar with that already. So SVSY, Silicon Valley STEM for Youth, was where I taught kids basically science in summer camps. Also the Science in a Bag, which was creating science kits out of household items and sharing that with young students. So overall, my community service kind of theme was sharing my passion for STEM with other people. And since that's something that I'm actually interested in, it was pretty easy to like maintain and keep going. Yeah. Also, just like other small things, like I'm interested in potentially pursuing medicine. So I did hospital volunteering. Yeah, so in general for like ECs, just do stuff you're interested in, like, and then it'll just come naturally. Like, I don't think any of this seemed forced for me, which was really nice. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, so for more of the like STEM-y things, like I did Olympiad competitions. Yeah, so like it's not like you don't have to be like crazy good at Olympiads to get into MIT. But like that is a thing I did because I was interested in it. I also did some summer research programs over the years. Yeah, mostly focused on like biology stuff. So yeah, some people like focus only on one, I'd say, but I think it's good to just like get a taste of everything. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. But if you never try it, then you'll never know. And also I think it's a good idea to like get some research experience just to see like how it is for you. Yeah. Let's see. All right, and then last thing is just last main EC I think I can think of right now is dance. So I danced for I've been dancing for like all my life. That's just a thing I continued. It's not something I did especially for college, but like I did end up like recording some videos and submitting that as my portfolio, which may have like boosted my application, but is again just like one of the things I love and I just kept doing. Yeah.
That's great to hear. So, going back into your high school experience, what was your biggest obstacle during high school, and what advice do you have for other people to overcome the same obstacle?
Okay, so I don't know if I have like a specific like actual obstacle. One thing maybe is like maybe time management, because I'm the type of person to like obsess over like tiny details. And for example, if I'm writing an essay, if like this sentence doesn't sound right, I'm gonna fix it like 10 times over until it does. And then like but then like at a certain point it doesn't like the more effort you put in, it doesn't really like improve it by that much. And you have to think about like your priorities. So like if you're spending like 10 hours doing this one assignment when you could be spending time like doing things you like, doing your other ECs, you have to wonder like, is it really worth it, like the time I'm putting into it? So I think yeah, the biggest thing for me was getting over that. Like there's only so much time you have, and you have to like know how to split it up between your different activities. Because if you're like me, and then if you spent like 10 hours doing every single thing, you would not be able to do like half the things you wanted to.
Do you have any advice or information that you wish you knew sooner for high school?
um I think, okay, I don't know if it's not really advice, but like for me it's just like kind of like finding a good study strategy that like works for me. Because so basically what happened was in my senior year, when I was studying for an Olympiad competition, I found a really nice way of like reviewing my notes and like condensing that into a way that I could like easily absorb. And that I found that was like a really good way for me to like retain information. I just wish I would have like figured that out sooner so that I would have been able to use it. But like either way, it's like good to like have that for yourself at any point in time. Yeah, even though I wish I could have had it sooner, I'm glad that I have it now, because like in the future, I'm still gonna need it.
That's pretty useful advice. So I know we touched on this briefly beforehand when you were talking about extracurriculars and about Science Olympiad, but do you have any tips on time management and how you can balance your extracurriculars with like piling schoolwork?
Yeah, so I think once again, just like priorities, like if like you have a bunch of schoolwork and it's all super important and it's like due tomorrow, like maybe don't study for Science Olympiad on that day. Like yeah, and also you have to know when to like kind of let go of things. Like I know there are some people who can do like literally everything at once and be like extremely good at everything, but like I'm not one of those people, and I'm pretty sure most people aren't either. So like at some point you have to think like, do I really want to do this? Do I have time for this, like given what I know about myself? And if I don't, then maybe it's time to drop that and focus on something else. So for me, like I played piano for a really long time, but at a certain point, like I wasn't really interested in like competing with that and getting like super advanced with that. So I thought like, okay, then since I don't really want to go like that much further with this, maybe I'll focus on other things that I do want to like advance in. So yeah, it's kind of stuff like that.
Is there anything during your senior year or even like later years in high school that you think was helpful getting into MIT, or just the college application process in general?
Yeah, so I think my senior year, it was Mostly just like continuing what I was already doing. So for Science Olympiad Club, that year I became president and I had like a lot more responsibility. So that kind of just naturally reflected in my application because yeah, I have like more things to write about in my essays. I have more like experiences. Also for like Science in a Bag, I just like kept that going, and then I was posting about it on the UN's Girl Up platform. So that's where I got some more exposure and I got some more opportunities. So in general, I think I just like didn't stop what I was doing and like made sure to keep advancing. I didn't like really split things up by like before college apps or after college apps. It's just kind of like a thing that continues. So like just have it be natural and should be fine. Yeah. And also this isn't like super related to college apps, but also like even after I was done, I like kept doing the things I wanted to do. So I kept competing in Science Olympiad, kept competing in like whatever else I was doing, even after college app season. I think that's like probably a good idea. I know some people who just like completely dropped everything and be like, okay, I'm done. So that like works for some people, but also for me, I think it's nice to just have like a rhythm, just have it keep going. Like at the end of the day, everything is stuff like I want to do. So I don't think there's a point at which you should like just drop everything. Yeah.
That's pretty good advice. Continue what you're interested in and just follow what you love. Now, going specifically into the college application process, how early did you begin? And what advice do you have for college essays or recommendation letters?
Okay, so I started the process, like the essay process, kind of the summer before. I was just like brainstorming. I started with the UC PIQs, personal insight questions, because those are like relatively straightforward. Like they ask a question, you answer it. You don't have to be like super fancy about it. That's how I got started. And then afterwards, I kept like thinking, like brainstorming. And at a certain point, I had to go back and then redo my PIQs because I realized they were kind of bad. So that's kind of the process. Like you have to go kind of back and forth a bit. Nothing's gonna be perfect the first time you do it. And for like essay advice in general, I think it's a good idea to like know what you want to talk about and like have a story in mind. So just like when you're doing whatever, like you're about to go to bed and then there's nothing your brain has to do. So you just think about like what you might write about and then plan out a story. And if you don't like it, scrap it, redo it. But then and then once you settle on like a good one, just you can write it out. But I think from my experience, like if you go and find some random topic and immediately start writing an entire thing about it, that might work for some people. But for me, like I spent so long writing that like if I just like go to write immediately and the idea is bad, then it just like it's like my entire like I don't know how many hours of my life is wasted. So for people like me, I'd say come up with a plan and then come up with another plan if that doesn't work, and then keep doing that. And if you have one that you end up liking and you just like talk to people about it, and it seems like pretty good, then start writing so you don't have to like agonize over actually writing the words down like 10 times. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I know it can be pretty difficult to start with the college application process. And now, is there anything you're looking forward to in college?
I guess just like the new environment, like it's gonna be so different from what everything I've already known. There's gonna be lots of new opportunities and lots of people to meet. It's just gonna be really different, and I'm looking forward to just getting to experience that. It's like another phase of your life, and there's gonna be so much change, and there's gonna be so much more like stuff to do, to experience. So I think all of that is like really exciting. Also just like getting a chance to like talk to and network with like these like really amazing professors and start doing like actual like research with probably more guidance than you'd get in high school, or like just more legit projects. Yeah, so everything's like bigger scale, and yeah, just a lot to look forward to.
Thank you so much for that, Angela. And that's all of our pre-prepared questions. So I now open up to the floor. If anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask Angela about college admissions or high school experience, please write it in the chat. And just to get us started, I actually came up with a question as we were interviewing. Specifically for me, it's a very large concern of mine when it comes to college is finance, because it's a large financial commitment. What advice do you have for gaining money and perhaps attaining scholarships to go to college?
Okay, so scholarships, one thing is national merit. That's like a pretty standard thing. It's like you take the PSAT, and then if you get above a certain score, you can qualify, and then you just write a few essays, and then you might get selected for a $2,500 scholarship, which is like nice. So that should be one that's pretty well known. Yeah, so that's definitely one to think about. And also, it's a good idea probably to just like research online like scholarship opportunities. Probably avoid the ones that are like no essay, because those are like lotteries almost. And another thing is like think about how you can like reuse college essays, or like modify them slightly, so you don't have to go through like an insane amount of extra work. Since you've already done so much work for college, you can like use that for a scholarship as well. But you just gotta find the right one that matches. That might take some effort, but it should be worth it in the end. And also in general, just like if like money is like a really big problem, also consider just like applying to more public schools, because the tuition isn't like as insane. Also just like you can get like a summer job, like work for minimum wage at a boba store, and then you can get some funds. So if there's like a lot of opportunities to get just a little bit extra money, and in the end, if you are still like missing a lot, you can obviously apply for financial aid, and colleges should be like pretty generous usually. So yeah, there's like if you like really need money, there's going to be a way to get it. And also, of course, for financial aid, you can like appeal and then be like, hey, like I need more. if you don't give it, then I'm gonna go somewhere else. And then a lot of the times the college will be like, okay, fine. So yeah, there's like money's like a big scary thing, but hopefully like most people should be able to get through it.
That's pretty solid advice. So once again, if anyone has any questions, please put it in the chat. And if not, then we can close out. We have one question in the chat because you mentioned doing summer programs. Where did you find these research opportunities specifically?
Okay, so some of these I just like heard about because they're famous. So like one thing was SIP, I think it's Science Internship Program. That's like pretty famous. Just like by word of mouth, like you just hear about it and like, okay, we can apply to it. And then what was I gonna say? Yeah, so also I was in like I did sign up for a private counselor, and they introduced me to some opportunities. Like obviously I still had to like apply for them, but like it was nice to just like have more options. Another thing is on my school's like counseling website. So this was like associated with my school, but they had like a list of programs for certain subjects. And I just like went through the list and like, okay, this seems like it might be a good fit for me, so I'll try it. Yeah.
And we have a follow-up question along with Science Olympiad. Did you also do competitive math, specifically AMC?
No, I did not do math. So that is one thing. I know a lot of people do AMC. A lot of people do AMC. I did that like once in middle school and I was like, nah. So I focused more on like biology, chemistry, Olympiads, because those were my strong suits. And I tried to do like the best I could in those. So I didn't like artificially try to be like super good at contest math because I know that that's not my like thing.
And we have another question. Can you tell us something about your family and any advice to Asian parents?
What do you mean by that?
I'm assuming they're just asking, how did your parents inspire you to go for MIT? How did they help you throughout your educational journey? Stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So my parents, I don't think they were like super pushy, probably because like I'm pretty pushy with myself. But they've always been like really good with like encouraging me to like do stuff and helping out even. So like I went to Science Olympiad, right? So I started that when I was in 6th grade. And so my mom actually signed up to be a coach for the team. So she was the one who kind of really like did lots of the logistic stuff since we were so young. She also like mentored some of our study events. So yeah, she gave me like a lot of like help and inspiration with that. So then later on, once I got older, like I could do things by myself. But like it was nice having that like level of support from the beginning, because if you're like a lost 6th grader, you don't know what anything is. It would be like a little bit harder to like get started and keep going. So I'm really grateful to my mom for that.
And we have another question, because you mentioned doing a lot of extracurriculars and specifically piano you dropped. Is there anything that you wish you spent more time on in high school?
Anything I wish I spent more time on? Maybe actually like writing stuff, because in middle school I did more like I focused more on writing contests and stuff like that, and actually got like a pretty big award. I still continued that in high school, but that wasn't as much of a priority, so it would have been nice if I could have explored that more. But yeah, I think for the most part, I'm like pretty satisfied with my decisions in high school, mostly because I kind of went in knowing what I wanted to do. So like I always knew I was like into like bio stuff. So that kind of like that thing, just knowing that from the beginning kind of helped me like figure out a good path. So yeah, I'm like pretty okay with how things went.
And we have another question. Any more advice on why you took a writing class? Because you are a STEM student, so why did you decide to pursue that writing class?
Okay, wait, is this for like APs or?
Maybe they didn't specify.
All right. So, like obviously, like okay. So for how do I say this? So even if you're a STEM student, like you have to be like good at writing. Like you can't just like avoid that forever. Because in the end, like if you do research, you're gonna have to write papers, and you're gonna have to like communicate what you do with other people. So like writing is something you should still be good at. Also like at MIT, there are requirements for taking like communication intensive classes where you have to like write a lot, because like they know that STEM majors are like they're still gonna need good writing like training, because like in the end we like communicate a lot via writing, and like you have to be decent at it. Like you can't avoid it forever.
Someone wants to know more about your writing experience, specifically about the writing contests you joined, how you found them, and how you can improve your writing skills as a competitive writer.
Okay, so for writing contests, so I did Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. That was like pretty famous. Like, so I just like heard about it and I was like, okay. I mostly did it because like I just liked like creating stuff and writing stuff down. Except, okay, so I wasn't like super into it, so I didn't go like do like training specific for that. I kind of just did it for fun. So I don't know if I have like a lot to say about I don't know if I have a lot of like advice for that specifically. There are like creative writing classes you can take. There's also categories for like journalism. I know schools offer journalism as a class, like for the school newspaper, for example. And obviously there's like an art category as well. So kind of just like look into it, see what interests you and just like try it out. And if you think it's cool, then maybe if you want more experience with it, you can go and find a class, or you can go to your English teacher and ask them to like look over what you wrote and see if they can give any feedback. Yeah, so just like kind of asking for help in general.
And there's another question. Which would help you more for admissions from an academic perspective? Competitive, for competition, or research?
Okay, so I don't know if I have a clear answer to that because it really depends, but I'll just say the thing about research is that it's kind of unpredictable. Like some people are going to be able to get like a really good paper out of it and win like a bunch of international competitions, get it published in like giant journals, but like a lot of the time you won't really get that. So research is kind of like, it's like you won't, like even if you do it, it's not a guarantee that you'll be able to get good results. And for competitions, I mean, in the end, it's just like a lot of studying. It's how much you want to put into it. If you find like it is really just a lot of studying. So there are like two different approaches to a subject. I don't know if I can say if one helped me more than the other. Maybe in my case, simply because my competition results were better, that helped me. But I don't think that's a thing to really choose. Like, just try both of them out and then go from there.
And that is all the questions, I believe, in the chat box. So if anyone has any last minute questions, they're free to type them now, or we can close out in a bit.
We do have another question. Someone wants to know, is there anything you think people should avoid in a college essay, or things that people might write too much about, or anything like that?
Usually if you like do a quick search, there's a list of topics that are like cliche, as people say. So it would be, okay, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you find one and you want to write about that topic, just like be extra careful, make it like personalized to you and your specific experiences. Yeah, so I think that's like the main thing. Make it personal to you. Things to avoid. I mean, honestly, it's just like, don't be rude. Don't say anything that you wouldn't like say to someone to their face, or like you wouldn't talk about, like, if imagine you're talking to the admissions officer, like don't write anything that you wouldn't like want to say to them. That's like pretty straightforward. But yeah, in general, like I think it's good to connect things to your interests and what you want to study in college. Yeah, and show that you're like really passionate about like just in general. So find something you're passionate about and then make sure you can show that in your essay, because college is for people to learn, right? And like they want to see that you really want to learn something. So that's a good one. Yeah, so I don't think there's like a clear cut answer, but like just make things very specific and personal and show like your like individual thinking and analysis and like how you like grown throughout the years. and through certain experiences. So like even if you want to write about a cliche topic, just make sure there's some part of it that's unique to you. So like if someone like read it and they didn't have any context, they'd be able to identify like you as the writer. I think that's a good rule of thumb.
We have another question. How many schools did you apply to, and did you get into any UCs?
Okay, so that's a funny story. So I applied to MIT, Caltech, and Case Western for the early round, and I got acceptances for all three. So after that, I was like, okay, I'm probably like gonna go to like, if I have these offers, I'm probably gonna go to one of them over UCs, for example. And also like, I had like friends who were like really hoping to get into UCs. So at that point I was like, okay, so if I'm like really probably not going to go to these schools, I'll just withdraw my application because yeah, and then hopefully some other person can get a spot. So yeah, I withdrew all of my UCs. And then for RDs, I applied to only really schools that I would consider going to over, for example, MIT. So I like really narrowed down my college list because like just like for like just practical purposes, like do I really want to be writing these essays for schools that I don't even want to go to? So yeah, so my college list ended up being kind of like weird because I just didn't apply to a bunch of them. But yeah, so I think earlies are kind of good for that. So like if after you get your early offers, just like kind of consider like what schools would I really actually want to go to, and then go from there.
And we have another question about the application process. Who gave you recommendation letters, and what advice do you have about recommendation letters?
Okay, so I got my recommendations from my AP stats teacher and my French teacher, I believe. So my French teacher, like it's just a thing in our school that like you stay with the same teacher like every year of high school. So like she's known me for like a really long time, and I was like consistently a pretty good student. So that was good because she had a lot of background on like who I was. I wasn't just like some random kid who came up to her and was like, hey, can you write me a letter? And then she has no idea who I am. So like that was really good. So it's really good to like build up a connection with your teachers and like really like participate a lot in their classes and like talk to them and like yeah. So same thing kind of for my AP stats teacher. So like even though we were like when I had him, we were in online school, I still like participated in the chat. I went to his office hours, I talked to him, and then I asked questions about like different topics. So like I think the thing about choosing your rec teachers is you make sure that they like know who you are, they know like what you're like in class, like you're like enthusiastic, you like learning, you're passionate. So make sure they can say good things about you. Yeah, I've heard of people like I don't know if this applies to like a lot of people, but like I've heard of teachers like writing rec letters that have like that aren't like really positive. Like they might have some negative things in there, but they'll still agree to write your letter, and then that would like really hurt you. So make sure your teachers have a positive impression of you. And the more like the better they know you, like the better, because like if they just say a really generic thing about, oh, they're a good student, they could get good grades, and that's all they have to say, that doesn't really tell the admissions officers anything about you. So yeah, just try to get to know your teachers, and yeah, that's that's the main thing.
That's all the questions I have on my end. So if anyone has any more questions, again, if you want to send in last minute. Oh, there is. Which was the AP class you struggled with the most?
AP class maybe AP Lang, I think. So like it was an English class. Yeah, I think there were because like just like the AP is like very like firmly structured. So like you write rhetorical analysis essay, and then argumentative, and then synthesis, and then you just like your goal is to get like really good at these like topics. And there's also like timed writes during class, so it's kind of like high stress ish. And then sometimes I wouldn't get like as good of a grade as I wanted or I'd hoped for. Yeah, so it was like all the essays were kind of graded on based on the AP rating. So it was like out of 6, I think. And then if you get like a few points off, like it's like pretty easy to get a few points off. So it's like, okay. Yeah. So it's just a lot of writing, a lot of in-class time things. And as I said before, I'm not very good at like time things because I spend like a really long time writing. So yeah, I think that was probably the most challenging for me.
And oh, Heather, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did you get any interviews for any school? And if you did, how did you prepare for them?
Oh, interviews. Yeah, so I had one for MIT and I had one for Princeton. So yeah, you kind of just like there are websites online that tell you like common interview questions. So you kind of just like get familiar with those. Main thing is to like really like know yourself and what you're talking about, because they'll usually ask you to talk about like extracurriculars, for example, or like classes and stuff like that. So just make sure you know everything like through and through. Like you don't want to be like stuttering about what you did like in the interview, because they're gonna be like, did you really do this? So yeah, you have to just like go through everything, make sure you can like say it clearly and show your passion for it. But also just like thing to take note of, like it really depends on your interviewer a lot of the time. So like they might be like super like welcoming and like friendly, or they might be like really cold. So that part you can't really like help, but like just make sure you like go through some questions, and have like answers. So, oh yeah, okay, this is a tangent, but I had like a practice interview with someone before my first interview, which was MIT. And then their advice for me was kind of to avoid like rambling too much, but like still explain things thoroughly. So just like be aware of like your strengths and like talk to someone and have like a pretend interview, and then they'll let you know like if you're talking too much, if you're talking too little, stuff like that. Yeah, but also at the end of the day, like you don't like interviews don't count for like an insane amount, or at least for a lot of schools, and you don't really know like how much that impacts your application. So like for MIT, my interviewer was like kind of cold and not as easy to like talk to and interact with. And for Princeton, my interviewer was super nice and then super friendly, and I thought we got along really well. And then he actually complimented me on my passion and how I could portray that. But then in the end, I got into MIT and not Princeton. So it's also a thing. So that's something to just like keep that at the back of your head. Be like, just like portray yourself as the best person you can. But if they don't like you, they don't like you. So
Okay, and we have another question. How many hours did you spend studying bio/chemistry or science Olympiad in general weekly outside of schoolwork?
Okay, I don't even know. Okay, so for science Olympiad, I did 3 to 4 events each year, and then each time for each event and have like a meeting with my partner that's like 1 or 2 hours. So that adds up to a lot of hours. And for bio and chem, probably not as much, but like still a lot. I don't know if I can really give an estimate, because I did also take like prep classes for some of the for bio and chem. That's like, yeah, that kind of depends on you as well. Like do you need something to keep that structure to keep you going, or can you just like read a textbook and be good? So for me, I kind of benefited from having a structured class, just like a few hours a week, and then a few more hours doing some like homework or reading. Yeah, that was kind of how it was for me. Oh yeah, and also like, because some of my events for Science Olympiad like obviously like overlapped with bio and chem because like, yeah. So some of the studying could like help the other out. So yeah, not completely like additive, like some of the hours count for the other one as well.
Speaking more about how much hours you spend outside of school with Science Olympiad and chemistry, what time did you go to bed senior, junior, and the senior and junior year of high school?
Okay, usually I sleep pretty late. I slept at like 1 or 2. Yeah. But also like, as always, like I said, I'm a pretty slow worker in general. Like I take my time on things. So yeah, just like don't be like too crazy. Don't pull like all-nighters every night, because that's just bad for you. And also like for me, I think like I can function pretty well on like 6 hours of sleep. So that works for me, but it might not work for other people. So yeah.
That's all the questions on my end. Heather, do you have any more questions? Okay, so again, last minute call. If you have any more last minute questions that you got while we were talking about sleep schedules or how many hours outside of school, if you have any left, feel free to put them in the chat box. And if that's it, then I think we can close this out. Thank you so much, Angela, for joining us for this interview. Once again, we are Cheer. We are a nonprofit organization based in the San Fernando Valley. We run tons of programs to help with both college preparedness and also mental wellness and also tutoring. There's tons of programs you can check out on our website. We also do trail cleanups from now and again. So feel free to check us out. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was nice.